Forgive me if my voice sounds slightly weird. My allergies have been going absolutely bonkers, and I'm going to try not to sneeze. I'll hit my mute button, hopefully, if I do feel like I'm going to sneeze. Okay, so I picked up several books at the comic book store this weekend. I'll put them over here, but these are two books that I wind up picking up. Can you see it in the light? Thundercats #2, Ultimate Spider-Man #3. I actually have Thundercats #3 as well as did I get 2 issues? I believe I got 2 issues of Immortal Thor. I might have gotten one, I don't know. Anyway, as I said before, I like covering things that I enjoy on this channel. These are some books that I definitely do enjoy. The Ultimate Spider-Man comic books, in my opinion, bring Spider-Man back into his original glory from a lot of the 90s releases of Spider-Man. It feels like that again, even down to the art. I love the art. I love the writing. Ultimate Spider-Man #3 was slightly, well, I was gonna say slightly slower than #1 and #2, but the story is so multi-layered that you kind of need these slow spots to bridge the gap between what's going on. And I believe they're handling this very well. So what I like to do is read some reviews of Ultimate Spider-Man, but how I want to do this is take one review that gives Spider-Man a very high score and then take another review that's decent but maybe not as good as that first one, because I think you get a good metric for where the book actually is. You get an in between, because I'm going to sing the book's praises because I enjoy it. That doesn't mean that you will enjoy it. This is something that I like. So we're going to get into this. I wouldn't really call it an article. I guess it's kind of a little short review on comicbook.com. And then we're going to go into a somewhat longer review from a website called Weird Science in Marvel Comics. Is that the name of the website? Yep. Weird Science in Marvel Comics. So never heard of the site. Don't know how trustworthy it is. These are other people's opinions, just like you come to hear my opinions. I enjoyed a book. I've explained to you why I enjoyed a book. I try not to do, when I go over these comic books I enjoy, I try not to do too much scripted content. That's for my origin story videos. But these videos, I just like keeping it raw, uncut, just how I feel about the book. I try not to give you too many spoilers, although I have not read these articles in advance. So I went to, there's a website called comicbookroundup.com. So you can look up a title and it kind of gives you an overall view of the reviews from this specific title. So it gives you a bunch of different reviews. It goes from 1 to 10, and Ultimate Spider-Man #3 appears to have gotten some high reviews. So I'll show you that. We see 10, 10, 9.6, 9.5, 9.5, 9.2, 9.0, 8.8, 8.5, 8, 8, 8, 7, 8. So I'm going to read the first review, which is a 10, and then the last review, which is a 7.8. Like I said, I think you kind of get somewhere in the middle when you get these two reviews. So it says the home run average for Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto, I think that's how you say his name, Ultimate Spider-Man continues as they're now 3 for 3. And I agree, the book is good. Hickman continues to remix the world in unique and satisfying ways. In the best moment of the issue, Chiquetto has the chance to deliver an action scene where two of the three participants have almost no idea what they're doing. And it's not only fun to read, but lands with perfect payoff. Ultimate Spider Man reaffirms there's a way to restart Major Heroes continuity and make it feel fresh, modern, and not beholden to decades of canon. Now, originally, I would not have been okay with that comment. I'm not opposed to messing with canon as long as you don't stray too far from the original fit, form, and function of a character. I believe there is a way you can mess with a canon and really go off the deep end in a way where it doesn't even feel like the same character anymore. And when people do that, I often wonder, why not just create a whole new character? Well, it's because they want the eyeballs that are on this IP, and I understand that. But this book really does do this well. It deviates, and there's a specific reason it deviates from the original Spider-Man stories and the ways that it does. I don't want to give too many spoilers. Like I said, this next article, it may give some spoilers, but I think the book is worth checking out. So here's what it says. This is the next review. This is the one that was the 7.6. Jonathan Hickman may be getting a little heat for spending too much time on character and world building and not enough on plot. But in Ultimate Spider-Man #3, you get a pleasant balance of action, story, character work, and world building. And look, I have no problem with well laid out world building. I think maybe in the time we're in now, people, they want stuff too much in a rush. And maybe we actually need to slow down just a little bit. Take our time. Let the people who write these stories have some room to breathe. I think if we allow that, we'll get much better stories moving into the future because everything won't be so rushed. Things will be well polished and well developed, which will then give other creators, other writers, and artists the ability to expand that even more. So I think taking this time to world build is actually a good thing. This issue won't blow you away, but you will be entertained. And I have to say, I agree. I think here's the thing about comic books, especially comic book series. There are some comic book series that, yes, it's just so groundbreaking that every single a book within the series is just mind-blowing. That doesn't always happen, and I don't think that's something that you can expect. I think if it happens, it's great, but I think to expect that, well, I don't think that's really something you can do time and time again. You might have a series where the first two books are great. Somewhere in the middle, it's really solid. And in the end, it really wraps it up magnificently. But every book is not mind-blowing. And I'm good with that. Okay, the article goes on to say, previously, Peter's attempt to get used to his powers and Smart Suit felt short with both encounters with the Shocker. Both encounters with the Shocker ended in defeat. After a body and ego bruising, Peter came home late and accidentally surprised young Mary Parker in all his Spider-Man glory. So his youngest daughter figures out who he is, which is it's really neat how they did this because they have a real strong relationship, him and his daughter. And she was explaining to him as she was hearing reports about what has come to be Spider-Man. She was kind of afraid, mainly because of the costume that he has. Now she finds out it's her dad, and she actually helps him to pick out what his costume will ultimately be. So I thought that was actually pretty dope. I actually like that. Peter Parker feels like a real dude. There's something, and I think there's something about Batman. What makes Batman so popular is he just feels like, as though he is rich, wealthy, and there's a whole bunch of other things going on, he always feels like a regular dude. And I think to some degree, Spider-Man kind of always felt like a regular dude. He was a comedian, a geek, in some ways an outcast, and I think many of us who got into comics can identify with that in some degree, especially in the 90s. I mean, not everybody was reading comics, and you were kind of the odd man out if you were reading comic books. Not in all scenarios and not in all cases, but more often than not. Okay. Uh Article goes on to say, after calming words may seem to embrace Peter's new role. Meanwhile, we learn the attacks on Wilson Fisk by a masked man riding a glider were increasing. So there's a lot of uh, interwoven plots in this book, and I think they pay off very well. And the areas that leave you questioning, they make you want to come back for more, which in my opinion, makes for an interesting book. And this is why I don't mind world building. I'm not one of these people who I feel like everything has to be laid out immediately. And if it's not laid out immediately, then there's a problem. That's just not how I get down. Take your time, build your story, and give me something to hold on to and something that's going to pull me back for more. I have no problem with that. And I think if writers will do this, I think they will survive in this modern era. I think if writers will just focus on writing a very good story, it may be a slower story. It may be something people want to go faster, but if it's good, people will come back regardless. Is the Ultimate Spider-Man books moving fast? No, but it doesn't have to. People always think quick means good. No, sometimes you need to take your time and let these things flush out. Okay, Peter puts the new red and blue suit through its paces with a stakeout in the hopes of encountering the Green Goblin. After a few days, he gets his wish when he encounters the Green Goblin in a serious fight against Bullseye. And I don't know if it was this article or other article that explained you get to see all of these people kind of figuring out how to do all of this all at the same time. Bullseye was a little more polished than Spider-Man and Green Goblin, but still you can tell these are not the well-developed characters they were from old because everything is starting out fresh. And I like it. If this, I'll tell you what to me Ultimate Spider-Man is. If you were ever going to reboot a comic book, Ultimate Spider-Man, what I see being done with some of the Ultimate books, I would say Black Panther's in this vein as well. This is how you do it. In my humble opinion, this is the blueprint. This is the model. I'm not going to say everybody should follow, but people should look at and kind of see, well, how did Hickman do this? How did he reboot this in a way where he was able to change some things, yet maintain the core of Spider-Man and really not tick off the fans? As far as I can see across the board, I don't think fans are ticked off by what's happening with Ultimate Spider-Man. Article goes on to say, Spider-Man intervenes, helping to capture Bullseye. The issue concludes with Mask Off, where we learn the Green Goblin is Harry Osborn. Well, we don't learn. I mean, it's not really a shocker to anybody who's been reading comics for any length of time that this played out this way. But this is where both of them have their identities revealed to each other. It says, what's great about Ultimate Spider-Man #3, despite the well-done battle, it's the simple moments between characters that bolster this issue. Yo, and that's the relationship between Peter Parker and his daughter and his wife and his son. all of those things matter. I think those of us who grew up on Spider-Man are now adults with children, mortgages, careers. So when we read these things, we can identify. And I think a younger generation can also identify with this as well, especially when you see the dynamic between Peter Parker, the parent, and his children. And in my humble opinion, again, this is why all of this works so great together. Okay, so the brotherly charm between Ben and Jay Jonah is solid, and I agree. And Pete's father-daughter chemistry with May is off the charts. Now, this is what I hope Hickman doesn't do. Do not do the thing where there has to be some tragedy where his wife is kidnapped or dies or one of his kids die. I don't want to see that. I understand tragedy can help a comic book, but I think sometimes we really do overdo it with the tragedies. I think we go a little too far. I understand why it's done, but I think sometimes it's just like, oh, brother, I get it. Life sometimes is tragic, but sometimes we just want to escape and see things play out well. And I hope that's what's done here with Ultimate Spider-Man. It says further, the reveal of Harry as the Goblin isn't a surprise, but what he's doing and why remains an intriguing mystery. And it kind of leaves you on the edge of your seat. And there's still a bunch of details about the Ultimate Spider-Man, if you haven't read, that you learn some things in the first book that I'm not necessarily giving away. I like to give people the opportunity to read the book. What's not so great about Ultimate Spider-Man #3 is the intangibles that are lacking. So far, Hickman hasn't established a major threat or challenge that puts Peter and his loved ones in harm's way. And again, as I said earlier, I don't think you have to do that. Now, I think he is establishing the threat. I think the author of this article is missing it, but I think the establishment of a threat, it's there and it's looming, and I think it's through some of the pages, and there's a lot of context clues dropped. And I don't want to give it all away, but I think it's worth you checking out and drawing your own conclusions. Okay, in short, Peter is playing at Spider-Man. Peter is playing at being Spider-Man, but isn't showing any of the responsibility or urgency of what it means to be Spider-Man. And the reason is he has just become Spider-Man. He doesn't even understand the full scope of what's going on. And I think the way Hickman writes this story, you get that. The famous Uncle Ben moment may be coming to give the series what it lacks, but for now, the vibe is a bit too casual. Now, I disagree, but I do agree that the Uncle Ben moment may be coming. That may be the tragedy. Whatever tragedy comes, I just hope it's not with the family. I think that's a dynamic. If they can keep Peter Parker's family together with Mary Jane and his kids in this new era of Spider-Man, oh, I think this will be magnificent. I think this will be the highest grossing Marvel book for years to come if they keep that dynamic that way, in my humble opinion. How's the art? Stellar, and I agree. Uh, I don't know if that says Chechetto. I think that's how you say his name. He's Italian. Is firing on all cylinders with great action, a cool new look for Bullseye, and great character moments through gestures and expressions. He is a magnificent artist. His lines are clean. The distinction, the foreground, the background, the way he makes all of these things work together, it's magnificent. I love it. I love the way he does this. I give Ultimate Spider-Man number 3, 2 thumbs up. Now, I know I haven't gone over Ultimate Spider-Man number 2. I'm going to tell you, definitely worth reading. It like the way everything plays out in a book. I'll tell you what I think when I read Ultimate Spider-Man. It kind of feels like The Dark Knight. When I say that, it kind of feels like New York City feels like Gotham City, and Spider-Man in some ways feels like the Dark Knight. Now, not in the same way, not in the way Bruce Wayne is dark and grim, and Gotham City has its own personality and it's dark and grim. It doesn't feel like that, but the way the story transpires, the city has a personality. That's the thing. Everything about this book shines in the way that you love as a comic book reader. This is a book done well. I am very happy spending my hard-earned money on this book. And I'd like to say bravo to Marvel. Marvel has done a magnificent job with this book right here. They really have. This thing, it has shined in every way I want and need a comic book to shine. Now let's see. I'm gonna look up Thundercats. Let's see what as soon as I learn how to spell Thundercats. Thundercats number 2. Let's see what they have to say about this book. If they have anything to say, let's see. Reviews Thundercats issue 1. So is there no review for Thundercats issue 2? I would be completely shocked. This site has been doing well so far in reviewing books. No, I don't see any review. Let's see comics. Let's see if I can search by category. Oh no, this is Fandom Pulse. That's why I was on a wrong website. I was like, why am I not seeing Thundercats? Because I know it's got to be on this site. Thundercats. Yeah. 2. Let's see if we can find it, see what kind of reviews we see on this book, because this is another good one. Yeah, I only see Thundercats 2024. Let's see what we have. Thundercats issue. Okay, issue number 3. Okay. Actually, I wanted to do issue number 2. I don't know why I went issue number 3. All right, Thundercats issue number 2. What did I think of this book? Another book worth your money. Some slight changes from the original Thundercats story, but I think, in my humble opinion, this is done well. The art is done well. The story is done well. Written by Declan Shalvey and written by Drew Moss, Dynamite Entertainment. Here's the interesting thing about this era and this time in comic books. When I was younger, it was always the big 3. Before Image, it was the big 2. You were either reading Marvel or DC. Now, it's not that there were not other comic book companies. You had Valiant. There's a couple other names I can't think of right out the gate. And then, of course, Image Comics came along in the early 90s, and they were a powerhouse, still are a powerhouse to this day. But I wasn't really going out looking for other comic book companies. If it wasn't Marvel, DC, or Image, I really wasn't checking for it. And just my naivety as a kid, I wasn't interested in looking outside of that scope. Now it's a little different. I don't mind looking at other companies and other things. I realize that some of these other companies, they have things I'm interested in that Marvel, DC, and Image may not have. And that's the benefit of this day, is there's a lot of comic book creators. It's easy to get into the comic book space as a creator. That doesn't mean it's easy to succeed, but I believe it's easier to get in. So let's read the best review that we see so far of Thundercats number 2, which is 9.2. The mutants crave the Eye of Thundera. They destroyed the Thundercats' homeworld to get the jewel. Mutant leader Lord Slythe tracked the lone escaping Thundercat vessel to Third Earth. Yet while battling, Lino, Lord Sith's mighty axe shattered the Sword of Omens, adorned with the precious gem. What reason have the mutants and the Thundercats to continue fighting? Let's leap into Thundercats #2 and find out. And if you are a fan of Thundercats growing up, if you watched the cartoon, then this book really doesn't stray so far that you wouldn't know what was going on. Of course, some things have changed. They didn't keep everything exactly the same. But again, another one of those books and another one of those IPs where I believe they did a magnificent job of updating some things with the classic story while keeping the integrity of the book in such a way that they're not going to tick off fans of Thundercats. Again, this is my humble opinion. I will say my opinion is not law. You may read some of the books I recommend and you may not like them. These are books that I like, that I enjoy, and I'm giving the reasons I enjoy these books, and you can make your own decision after that. Lino looks up to Jaga. After Jaga's death, Lino seeks his mentor in his dreams. He awakens to mourn Jaga. Of all the Thundercats, Lino feels the most alone. He's lost his childhood and camaraderie with Wily Cat and Wily Kit. They should have said Wily Kit and Wily Cat. Just my humble opinion. That's the way I'm used to saying it growing up. To a faulty stasis pod, so he aged when he wasn't supposed to. Years and responsibilities separate them. In Thundercats #2, Lino quickly assures Wily Cat and Wily Kit of their safety. Then Lino bids the children leave his presence so he can use sight beyond sight to spy on the other adults. After the destruction of their ship, the mutants seek a new stronghold. A pyramid guarded by 4 obelisks seems too good to be true. While Lord Slythe's soldiers journey through the desert, their leader enters the forest. Lord Slythe lost his ship to children, suffered defeat despite his larger army, and shattered what he most desired. Slythe seeks renewal of mind, body, and purpose, yet the forest may not offer the tranquility it promises. And this book, I like the way this book starts out, the way everything is being set up. I love the art. This is one of those books where you read the story and it is exactly what you need. You look at the art and it is exactly what you need. It doesn't go over the top. It's not trying to go over the top. The book is not trying to hit you with a wow factor. It is just sticking to the tradition of Wildcats and the things that people love. And I'm like, wow, what a concept. And in my humble opinion, this works. So I'm not going to read that whole review, but we're going to go down to one of these not so good reviews. This is 7.0. And let's get down to it. Okay, it says, I figured I'll stick with Thundercats a bit longer, see where it goes. While everybody recovers from the battle, both good guys and bad guys, Lionel mostly sulks because the Sword of Omens is destroyed. The other Thundercats explore the bad guy's ship and find Celica, another Thunderian, in the brig. They bring her back to the base, and she tells their story, she tells her story, and Lionel is instantly smitten with her, while the others are very suspicious, as they should be. Meanwhile, the bad guys are in search of a camp and draw even closer to Mumra. And Mumra actually is the one controlling this woman who Lionel is uh smitten by. And he doesn't realize it, but some other people in the ship, they're like, yeah, we kind of figured this is too good to be true, and they're just keeping a watchful eye. Uh so comic rating, 7 out of 10. Good. I think this is a strong follow-up to the first issue. I especially like the introduction of Calica. I think that's how you say her name. I did a Google search on her, and she's an original character created for the series. I like that this Thundercats comic is willing to do something like that so soon. Introduce an entirely new character. So it says okay, I think he said she wasn't part of the new series. And she's an original character created for the series. Okay, yeah, created for this series. I thought he was saying for the old series she was an original character. Anyway, moving on. So he likes the fact that they're willing to introduce a new character, and I like it as well. You want to stick with the original while giving something a little fresh, right? So if a younger person were to read this comic book, I can tell you right now, like reading number one, if a younger person was to read number one and go back and watch the original cartoon, they would not be completely lost. They would recognize the things that they're seeing. It is not a complete departure. And that's what I like, much like that Ultimate Spider-Man series. I think they have done this very well so far. So I think both of these reviews, match together. I think they really do encapsulate how I feel about the book. I think this is a very good showing of Thundercats. I think the way they did this, I think it was done well. It's worth your money. Ultimate Spider-Man number 2 and Thundercats number 2. If you're looking for some comic books to read and you feel like you haven't really seen anything you really enjoy, I think these two books right here are worth picking up.